Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over the solo variant of Utopia. Now, real quick, Utopia was sent to me as a review copy. The designers reached out and they were like, hey, do you want to, cover Utopia? And I'm like, sure, why not? And here I am doing a discussion over the solo variant. I will also have a discussion over the regular multiplayer game as well, but I saw Utopia had the solo variant and I figured I'd check it out. And these discussions are always kind of the hardest for me because whenever a game is just kind of given to you to do, you're just like, I'm very appreciative of the fact that they reached out for me to do a review. However, I really, really do not like this solo variant. Not necessarily saying it's the worst I've played, but I just don't... it's not my personal taste. So, and why is that? Well, that's because basically the solo variant kind of gets to just do whatever it wants. And without any realistic planning on the player's part. So in a lot of solo variants up against an AI, of course they're going to get a lot of freebies because that would just be meticulous. You might as well play a two-handed competitive game if you had to manage everything. And I understand that. But in a lot of those games, you can either, do your own thing, and then the AI will score points, and you just hope that your points, are higher. Or you can somewhat predict what the AI is going to do. You can look and see it has a deck, and you're like, okay, it's probably going to do one of these things. You have imperfect information, and that allows you to kind of, plan for that. Utopia's AI does not have that because it does one of two things. So it has a deck of cards, and in the there are 15 cards here. And I will say, like, the theming of this game I think is really interesting. But you essentially pick one of these, and they're scaled off of difficulty. Like, so whenever you're setting it up, it's like the easiest one is Hernan Cortez. And then it goes all the way up to dystopian level difficulties as the Nazis. Like, I'm not kidding. He goes, Hernan Cortez, Scarface, the Inquisition, Leopold II, the Neb, Vlad the Impaler, Uber Morlock, Emperor Nero, Blackbeard, Queen, I've never heard of this, Renavalona, the Trifids, Jack the Ripper, Neo, Bolsheviks, Genghis Khan, and the Nazis. Which is all thematically cool, and it gives you some flavor text, some historical context of, like, Jack the Ripper, the insidious entity known as the Ripper, was in fact an extragalactic insectoid-like alien life form. Okay, well, it's not exactly, historically accurate. Anyway, you just pick whatever difficulty you want, or randomly do it. Then, it has essentially a timer on when it's going to complete missions, because the point of Utopia is for you to create butterfly effects. You're kind of getting missions, getting poker chip tokens to complete them, and create alternate timelines, and do that 3 times before the bot. So the AI will have a drone and a list of actions that it's going to do. So you shuffle this deck up, and the deck will have a time zone location, which is like a worker placement spot, and an action that it's going to do. And the frustrating part of this AI deck is all it does is you have your deck and you discard the top card, and then you do the effect of the one underneath it. Well, because there's 15 cards here, it's like, okay, well, I don't know what it's going to do, because your whole plan is trying to prevent it from succeeding in placing in a spot. So if you look at the action, and it's like, oh, it's going to do the bottom action of the mission that it's going to try to complete. It wants to go to the politics spot with its worker. So if it goes to that politics spot, it sends a worker there. It's succeeded. It doesn't have to deal with chips. It doesn't have to do any of that. Essentially, it will auto-complete missions for every successful spot it places a worker down. So it's like, oh, it got to go to the mission spot because it always goes first. If that's its first action, it goes there, it succeeds, it goes down. Then it does the ability on the actual card. In this case, it's like, hey, it wants to, auto-complete a transportation tech. Okay, well, there's a transportation, but it'll check So what the second frustrating part is it will check basically the time zone on the card. It's like, is there a transportation tech in, time zone 6? No? Okay, then check 7. Then check 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like, okay, well, I had no idea it was ever going to go to that location, because I couldn't predict if it was going to be a top, bottom, the assassination spot, the trade zone, the politics spot, the exploration spot. I had no way of ever knowing that it was going to go there. And if it does, it's like, okay, well, it succeeded, so it goes down, and now it's going to do a tech. And then the second frustrating part that gets added is, okay, it checks that time zone. Well, time zone 6 doesn't have a transportation technology. Okay, well then just check, the rest of them. It's like, well, what, like, that seems so arbitrary to even check a time zone. Like, all that kind of does is potentially steal a tech from that location if you were happening to look at that. But then, if it's not there, it still gets to do it. It still gets to build a tech if it happens to be out there. Now, in that case, techs, it's like, oh, well, like, they very rarely show up because each location only has 2 techs in the entire deck. So it's like, okay, well, there isn't a transportation tech out there, so it just doesn't do it. But it still succeeded in going to that location. It just failed in doing its secondary ability. I find that just completely like a whatever design choice, because it's like, oh, okay, well, it wants to assassinate, and all assassination does is just put your ship in limbo, and then they place their drone to keep the spot blocked. And it's like, oh, it wants to assassinate, so it sends a worker to the assassinate spot. And then it's like, oh, well, then it does it. Okay, check the time zone. Oh, it checks time zone 6. If your ship is there, then it, kills it. But then if it's not in time zone 6, then it just loops around again. So it's like, if you were all the way in time zone 3 from a previous action, and it went to assassinate, and it was like, okay, check time zone 6. Nothing there. Then 7. No. 1. No. 2. No. 3. Yes. Okay. Boom. So it still got to assassinate, so it didn't matter that it wasn't at 6. It's not like you can really... The only time you ever get out of an assassination, it's like if it happens to assassinate on its first turn, because it's first player. The key to, doing well in this game is you just basically assassinate on your first turn. Because, like, if it goes and then... like it does its whatever thing, your first action should be to assassinate it, because that means, you're going to gain a chip, which is good, because normally in a multiplayer game, when they pay their limbo, they pay to the player who has the least completed missions. In the solo variant, you just gain the chip of the ship it's taken back. It always takes the ship back, doesn't matter. You just get a knowledge chip as a reward. But then the biggest thing is you get to take first player. So, because now, if you're able to go first, then at least you might get in the way. The only time that you ever, it fails is, like, if it's action, let's say, oh, it wants to go to the assassination spot. Well, you went there first, so it can't do that. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't place. That just means it goes to the next spot and it fails. Like, so, oh, hey, I went to the assassination spot. That was its next card. And it can't go there, so then it goes to the next available spot, never taking a recruit or tech location. So it just fails, which means it doesn't advance on its own sheet. So it still blocks a spot, and it's like, I wanted to go there, but you went there, so I guess I'll go somewhere else and do, something else. It's just so, like, yeah... you can play it as a solo variant. Do you want to? Probably not. And I always feel bad, because it's like, they reached out to me and they wanted me to, cover the game, but if I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm not gonna be like, oh man, thank you so much. I really like it. Yeah, I loved it. It was amazing. 10 out of 10. No, I mean, it's a variant that feels like like I want it to be a timer almost. And there's other games variants that are timers. Like Arc Nova is essentially a timer to before the game ends. So like yeah, you basically look at the bot that you picked. Oh, Al Scarface Capone. He starts with his cultural ship, and then he's going to do these 5 things before he completes a mission. And the mission is just, okay, he does it, flip it, take the next one. Even if you kind of block it, the Nazis are literally, they do 2 actions before they auto-complete a mission. I will say, one positive thing about the solo variant is it actually gets you to... You want to recruit more people. In a multiplayer game, I never found a real reason to go out of my way to recruit like more than a 3rd ship. And ideally, in a worker placement game, you want all your workers as quickly as possible. But every time I've played a multiplayer, I'm like, 3 is pretty good. Yeah, if you can get more, if you can trade or do some actions that give you the knowledge chips you need and you can get more ships, then yeah, then you're just going to be a leg up because you'll get more actions. And you're pretty much going to get more actions than the bot because it very rarely recruits. Even though when it does, it's just like, oh, it wants to recruit in time zone 5. Well, there's, no crew there. Okay, it'll do 6. And the only time it fails is if all the available crew to recruit it already has. And then it's just, oh, okay. Or if it happens to do a lot of text and it doesn't have drones out, like then it won't do like an assassinate or anything that requires, placing a bot down. So that could be good. But yeah, if you can get first player, that helps you. If you can get more ships, then you're like, okay, well now I'm going to get to go more. Therefore, I'll get the things I need to fill out the butterfly effect missions before it does. And that is helpful, so that's some semblance of strategy. But in terms of the fact that you have to... You have no idea what's coming up next. It's like, okay, there's that. Oh, okay, it's going to the top. It wants to paint the Mona Lisa. That's the culture spot. It's available. It goes there. Boom. Now it does this piracy action, and it checks location 3. I'm not there, but I am on space 6, so whoop, just comes around to space 6, and then it steals resources from me. Yeah, and then every tech that goes off, so if you ever went to, like, let's say I had a tech and you went to do an action there, you have to spend the the resource. So in this case, it was a military or an explorer. If you had that knowledge, you would have to spend that. Instead of it gaining it, you lose it. That's just kind of annoying. Whenever it does a piracy, it steals shit from you. It's like, oh, this is just annoying. I really, really did not enjoy this variant at all. The other leg up is it never goes to alternate location, so every time you do complete a mission, that is a location that you get that it will never go to, so they kind of become safe havens for you. If you can get one that ended up having me win this latest game, was I got an alternate location that gave me a politics knowledge that I needed. And it's like, oh, well, because I own that spot, I can go there and gain more politics knowledges, which I need for my final mission, and that's just enough for me to get. And I think, yeah, one action it was actually not able to do. So it failed, meaning that it didn't go down. So I literally beat it by a turn. And it was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, and this solo variant also can be used in co-op. There is a 2-player co-op variant. You essentially have 2 villains that you're against, and you're kind of assigned to one of them to deal with. They just unfortunately feel like stretches to design that, yeah, technically they work, but I wouldn't go out of my way to actually get this for its solo variant specifically. And that's okay. Sometimes, it's not necessarily okay. Don't put it in the game if it's not fun to play. But sometimes I never buy games for their solo variants. I'm never one to be like, oh man, how does this game play solo? Although that's me, and even when I do variants, it's always for the channel. So yeah, I mean the biggest positive I can give is I like their choices of villains. Obviously, yeah, the Nazis are a villain. So they will create communication text, they will recruit, and they will complete missions. That's literally it. So because they're recruiting, they're basically going to get their max ship count, and then just go, succeed. Go, succeed. Creating text. Yeah. I don't see how you beat the Nazis in this. Like, yeah, that would just be. Yeah, I'm taking a look at that. I don't know. I guess you're assassinating a bunch. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about this. So I really can't think of a whole lot of like positive stuff. Technically it is beatable, even with all the free stuff and things it doesn't even ever have to manage, and it's an arbitrary timer with some effects, like event effects that come at you. But boy, was it just not fun for me. So on the scale of 1 to 10 for the solo variant of Utopia, I'm gonna give it. I think I'm gonna give it a 3. I really did not like it. I don't think it's average. I don't think it's slightly below average. I think it's just pretty below average of a solo variant. It can't be a 1 or a 2 because it's beatable and it's technically functional. But yeah, I really, really did not like it. So if everything I said is, the opposite for you, then definitely give it a shot and see if, it's fun. But yeah, this was not a variant that I would recommend Utopia for to my solo, board gamer friends. If they are solo gamers and they're like, oh, hey, I heard Utopia is a solo variant, is it any good? No, I didn't like it. But you're not me, and your taste might be completely different. So check out the multiplayer game, and if that sounds good for you, then, the game still kind of plays that. Like, still play Utopia. I just don't like the way the bots ran. So that's my thoughts on the solo variant of Utopia. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.